Mass psychosis, also known as mass hysteria. It refers to a collective phenomenon where a group shares false beliefs, delusions, or physical symptoms without an organic cause. It spreads rapidly through fear, anxiety, or high stress, impacting people's perception of reality, often rooted in high stress environments or widespread, shared, and often irrational fears. This is also what happens when a show ending is so horrendous, so mind-boggling, and unimaginably bad that it makes the fans of the show believe that there's a secret final episode. The most recent example of such a heinous crime against cinema is the Stranger Things finale. This finale was so horrible that fans immediately jumped the gun to say that there was clearly a secret episode, because it wouldn't make sense. It can't be this easy. Oh, my sweet summer child, if only you knew that, yes, unfortunately, it is this easy to completely and utterly destroy a show. This isn't the first time this has happened either. Many shows actually in years past have had the same problem. They had a good pilot, got people hooked with the plot, the stakes keep getting higher and higher each season, and eventually culminating into one of the best pieces of film of all time, and then disappointment. They completely dropped the ball. But wait a second, did you see that? When Sherlock rubbed his left testicle at approximately 23 minutes and 17 seconds into the final season, that was a callback to episode 3 of season 1, when he goes and shakes the left hand of the merchant at the town square. And wait a second, if you look at what the merchant is selling, he's selling shoes. Shoes are made for walking and running, but Sherlock doesn't walk, he runs. He walked all of the final episode. This means that it's a dream. Sherlock would never walk, he always runs to solve the mystery. But wait, if it was him walking, that also means that the villain must be James, because James mentioned in episode 4 of season 2 at approximately 23 minutes and 17 seconds that he likes to walk, and he held up his left pinky finger as he drank tea. This means that James has Sherlock in a trance, and the final episode is still to come. Today I want to go over some shows that had endings so terrible it made fans genuinely believe that the show was pulling off some high IQ power move by having a secret episode. First off, let's just get this out of the way. The only show I've personally watched is Stranger Things, so I will not be giving my opinion on the rest of these shows, as I have no idea whether or not to hate the ending or if it's justified. But oh buddy, you betcha I got some words for Stranger Things. I most certainly do. For the shows I haven't watched, we're going to try and find a general consensus on how fans felt about the ending. Bad? Did it ruin the show, or is it divisive? With that out of the way, we're going to start with the oldest show first and work our way up to Stranger Things. Now, I will be going in order for each show's first pilot episode date, not how long they ran for. Let's get started with...
Stop acting like you know the way ahead, like you know the rules. There are no rules, man. We're lost.
No. Lost is a show where the past, present, and future lives of surviving Oceanic Flight 815 passengers are dramatically intertwined as a fight for survival ensues in a quest for answers after crash landing on a mysterious island. Each discovery prompts yet more secrets as a hastily formed colony search for a way off the island. Or is this their home? Airing from 2004 to 2010, this show would go on to become one of the most critically acclaimed TV shows of the early 2000s. With that being said, the ending is probably misunderstood more than fans thinking there was a final episode. Now, what is the problem with the ending, and why is it being misunderstood? Well, part of the problem stems from they were dead the whole time. Oh wait, they weren't. But yes, they were. But no, they weren't. You see, the ending is seen as divisive for some fans for this reason. There are people who didn't pay attention to the show, apparently, and thought that the ending symbolized that all the characters were actually dead the whole time. Meanwhile, others knew that wasn't the case. But why would people think that? Why did people think that everyone was dead? Well, turns out ABC ended the show with an empty beach and the plane wreckage and rolling credits, which was intended as a reflecting moment in here's where it all started type of thing. But unfortunately, many fans took this as a hint that all the characters were dead, since it was an empty beach with the wreckage of the plane in total silence. This left many fans confused and angered that they spent 6 seasons watching all these characters only to find out that they were dead the entire time. But again, that wasn't actually the case.
The scene that confused a lot of people was the very last shot was a shot of the empty beach, which people thought, oh my God, they were never there. They died. They were all dead. That really was just a thank you, an homage to Oahu. It had nothing to do with, Wow. It was simply that. So that might have confused some people, but that was all of it. That it was intended to be.
I'd say this might be the only show on this list that might not really need to be on here, as I can't really find anywhere the fans said there was a secret episode, but I guess you could technically count people misunderstanding the ending as the secret finale. Anyways, moving on to the next show, which is...
This year, I lost my dear husband, Edgar.
Quit telling everyone
I can still hear his voice.
How I Met Your Mother, first airing in 2005 and with it ending in 2014, one of the most popular sitcoms of the mid-2000s to early 2010s. The show follows main character Ted Mosby and his group of friends in New York City's Manhattan. As a frame story, Ted, in 2030, recounts to his children, Penny and Luke, the events from September 2005 to May 2013 that led to him meeting their mother. Now, you may be thinking, this seems like a cut and dry show. How can you ruin the ending to a sitcom so badly that fans actually ended up making the creators publish an alternate ending? Well, to put it simply, the show had been making you build this anticipation of the kids, and viewers included, finally getting to see Ted and the mother in the present time of the show. Except, it's revealed that instead of living a happily ever after like the show led you to believe for 9 seasons, it's revealed that their mother died of a heart attack 6 years ago. And the whole point of Ted telling the kids this story was so he could tell them he was in love with Robin.
Your mother came home and he killed her.
What? She got killed? Somebody killed her?
She's fine.
Dexter, what?
You're kidding, right?
I don't understand. You said spend the day at Disney World.
Sorry for your loss.
This gave the final episode, Last Forever, a disappointing 5 out of 5 at the time of writing this on IMDb. Not exactly the wet fart you want the show to go out on. It was so bad, in fact, as I mentioned, and so widely hated that it actually caused the showrunners to release an alternate ending on the DVD box set. Apparently, according to some sources, they had filmed multiple endings in anticipation of such backlash, which personally, I just find it funny that you make the ending to your show and you say to yourself, yeah, you know what, people probably aren't going to like this. Let's just go ahead and make another ending that they will like, but only release it on DVD, which, you know, for any of my younger viewers out there, streaming has not always been a thing. If you wanted to watch your favorite show again, you had to either buy the DVD set, watch reruns, which you had no control over, or rent it from Blockbuster, rest in peace. No, Netflix was not the same like it is today. You still had to have the DVDs mailed to you, if you guys even remember that. So you can imagine the outrage when fans are forced to watch the alternate ending by having to go out of their way and purchase it.
Watson, no! Why are you getting so exercised? It's merely an empty box.
Watson, this is sent from Moriarty. He means to kill us. Listen. Shut that window. If this winged menace escapes, it may cause a pandemic.
Do you like feeling smart? Do you like Scooby-Doo but wish it wasn't a cartoon? Well, boy oh boy, I've got the show for you. Set in modern day London. Brilliant, but eccentric detective Sherlock Holmes teams with war veteran Dr. John Watson to crack baffling crimes, outwit formidable foes, and aid Scotland Yard with razor-sharp deduction. Now, speaking as an American, no, I have not ever watched a TV show from the BBC. God gave us feet for measurement. He didn't put meters on us. First airing in 2010 with its final episode in 2017, Sherlock will be the shortest series on this list with a meager 3 episodes per season. Although each episode is essentially a short movie with them being an hour and a half each, Sherlock is once again a critically acclaimed show, praised for its fast-paced and modern take on the classic detective, accompanied by witty writing and high-stakes chemistry between the two main leads. But what could possibly cause this show to have such a terrible ending? Was it set in Birmingham? After all, looking at the ratings on IMDb, it would seem that other episodes are actually worse. Well, it just so happens that the show seemed to jump the shark on its finale, with some people claiming that it abandoned its grounded grittiness and turned more into a Saw type of show. On top of this, of course, you had the typical character assassination or disrespect, which comes with terrible endings. And for some reason, there was an introduction of a third sibling that was a secret this whole time until the final episode, which, yeah, I can see why that might ruin it. Now, of course, despite it being an utter train wreck of a finale, some people still enjoyed the shock and excitement value they got out of it. You know, the type of people to clap when the plane lands. You know the kind. Not saying you can't enjoy things, but
don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
I don't like to just turn your brain off to enjoy something. Speaking of turning your brain off.
Listen, you can't go with me. That's my body. You'll have to find yours. But Max, how can I do that? Just believe. I do believe.
That's
working. That's,
Oh boy, we're finally here. The moment you've all been waiting for. Yes, I think the finale is terrible and has to be one of, if not the best examples of incompetent showrunners ever. Or better yet, how the help they had from previous seasons was actually saving the show. More on that later. Stranger Things finale. I mean, genuinely, how did this happen? First airing in 2016 and finishing in 2025, Stranger Things was by far one of the most popular streaming shows of our generation, and maybe one of the last times we see a show be this popular in the streaming world, since it essentially grew up with Gen Z. Now, part of the reason this finale caused so much hysteria for a secret episode was honestly a multitude of things. First, being the delusion that the Duffer Brothers are smart, as number one. Two, is fans being smarter than the Duffer Brothers. And number three, the unfortunate misunderstanding of extra content that was actually just a behind the scenes episode, which was also extremely damning evidence of how terrible the Duffer Brothers are when it came to Stranger Things. Now, for number one, did you know that one of the Duffer Brothers, Ross, was married to Leigh Janiak? I don't know if I pronounced that right. I hope I did. Anyways, she was well known for being the writer and director of the Fear Street trilogy. Now, it hasn't been officially confirmed, and we may never know for certain, but my fellow theorists, it is heavily rumored that she was a ghostwriter for seasons 1 through 4. But on top of that, we also had the writer's strike before season 5, so at least in my opinion, I truly believe that also hindered season 5. Maybe they lost some of the talent they had. Nevertheless, the Duffers wanted to end the show, and oh, they most certainly did. They did it in the most corny and wimpy way possible. The reason that I mentioned the wife of one of the Duffer Brothers is because before season 5, they got a divorce and she left. Again, it is only rumored that she was a ghostwriter. Now, when I say there is this delusion that the Duffers are smart, it's because most people credit a movie solely to the director, like Spielberg, Tarantino, whoever, but they forget that there's a whole ensemble that makes the movie come together. Yes, ultimately, they do have the final say, but let's not forget how important it is to have people you can bounce ideas off of, and also those people have good ideas to offer you. People assumed that all of the foreshadowing or callbacks from previous seasons was all the Duffers doing. They planned it all out and knew every minute detail, the specific wrinkle on Vecna's taint. No, they didn't. The amount of inconsistencies in season 5 is astonishing, to say the least. One of my favorite things about the Duffers being interviewed for season 5 is them admitting that Will should have technically died or been in pain when Vecna was being killed. I mean, that was part of the reason for this whole season, you know, their link and everything, but, you know, I digress. They just didn't want to detract from the situation. Well, by God, you gave him a longer scene of him coming out than the cast fighting Vecna itself. Why not include that? As I just said, I mean, it was literally part of the plot, until it wasn't, of course. On top of that, Nancy, you've murdered what would probably be like the Illuminati of military personnel. How is she allowed to just walk away and live a normal life? We'd never hear from her again. Also, what happened? What happened with the government? The Duffers answer? I guess they just sort of left. You guess? Brother, you wrote the show. What do you mean, you guess? I could sit here all day talking about the inconsistencies, but let's just go ahead and move on to the second point, which was the fans being smarter than the Duffers. Now, if you were on social media or watched YouTube at all, then you knew about Conformity Gate. By far, the biggest form of mass psychosis I have ever seen in my life. You had people who thought the ending was so bad that they thought it was good because they knew there had to be a secret episode. Can you imagine that? Your show ending is so terrible that you get praised for having a secret ending that you don't have. Ouch. I'm not going to go over all of Conformity Gate just because it's so much. If you want to look into it, I recommend just looking for a video here on YouTube explaining it. But long story short, they didn't actually beat Vecna, but instead Vecna won and they are all in a trance. Now, that would have actually been clever. I mean, Vecna is supposed to be more powerful than ever. The stakes are so high, we haven't even seen him at full power, and nope, but that's just not what happened though. You just get the the super corny, everybody is happy and alive ending. Now, I'm not saying it needs to be Game of Thrones where someone dies every other episode, but the marketing for this was things like Dark Christmas and like prepared to be sad or whatever. So one would suspect that with the stakes being so ridiculously high, I mean, we're talking about the entire world ending, right? A character would surely sacrifice themselves or die, right? A main character, no, not you. I mean, my goodness, we have so many main characters that it's become exhausting to follow all of them, which ended up sidelining most of the characters. I mean, what the heck did Robin do in the last episode? Anyone? Derek's family? They're dead. They are still tied up in that barn. And I know what you may be thinking, oh, but 11 died. We knew she was going to die. We pretty much knew that was going to happen. Nobody else got hurt. Nobody else died. Where are the stakes for this? And also, I have a gripe because Elle might not actually be dead, because that's left for you to decide, because they knew, again, people might be mad, so they just left it open to interpretation. I hate to be the black-pilled person here, but she's dead. She's dead. There is no conceivable way she lived. Me and my wife even went back to watch that scene of her supposedly opening the door. That door doesn't open. Okay, she's dead. But I digress. I'm getting off track here. For point number 3, I cannot stress enough how much people thought that Conformity Gate was real simply because of the marketing that was misinterpreted by Netflix. So, of course, you've got all these hysterical people because the show ending was so terrible, and Netflix, which I don't blame them, it was a smart move, but they decided to market extra content, and they let fans know by saying, oh, something is on its way soon. Well, obviously, this had the show theorists running wild and saying that they were right, and it's going to be the greatest show in history, and the Duffers are essentially the Stephen Hawkings of TV, and obviously we know that didn't happen. What happened was they were marketing a behind the scenes of season 5, which was probably the worst thing they could have released. It's not like they didn't see the hype from this theory, but you know, they wanted people to keep that subscription for as long as possible. Now, all I will do is show this clip, which pretty much perfectly encapsulates why this season was terrible.
Today's a very interesting day. We are shooting episode 8, which isn't completely written yet, spoiler alert. So we don't even fully know what's going on.
Now, my dear viewer, you may be wondering, how come this happens? Well, in certain cases, whether it's a book or a video game adaptation, the piece of media that is being adapted from might not have the entire story finished, so the show has to make up an ending. For example, a show that is going on and had such popularity like Game of Thrones couldn't just hold production for however long it took George to finish, he still won't, but sometimes writers end up writing themselves into a corner also, and they have no way out because they full send it on whatever ending that they've been building up towards, even if it's a disappointment, or in the case of something like Stranger Things, they lose talent along the way and ultimately have no idea of how they want to end it. Their statement of they knew how they wanted to end it when it first started, to me seems like a total lie because of how drastically the show changed by the end, and just again, not a good finale. But what does this all have in common? These shows all lacked a true end goal. When you make a story, obviously you need the pilot, the stakes, the characters, villains, everything. You need the whole meal there, right? But what you should always make sure you have at the start is, how do you want it to end, right? If you don't give yourself an ending, you can essentially just go off the rails and make it impossible to bring it back down to a grounded story. AOT, for instance, the writer actually had the ending in mind before the story was finished, and even though it may be somewhat divisive to some fans, I would argue that it sticks the landing as it should. And for a final note, in the day and age of marketing and consumerism, do you really, truly believe that they would let people unsubscribe from their streaming service without telling fans there is actually another episode? No, they would 100% let you know if there was another episode or not. Case in point, Stranger Things on their social media pages for the promotion of the new season all said on every single page, all caps, all episodes streaming now. This was after the fact the finale was released, so no more mass hysteria, please. If there are any other shows I may have missed, let me know. Or maybe you have some extra comments to add about one of the shows I'm not as familiar with. That's all I've got for this video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good morning, good afternoon, or good night.